the Huron-Wendat, the Seneca, and most recently, the Mississaugas of the Credit River. Today, this meeting place is still home to many Indigenous people from all across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. So before we begin with the panel, I'll just introduce myself, and then we'll have the other hosts introduce themselves as well. So my name is Angad. I'm a second-year student here at Rotman Commerce. I'm in my finance and economics specialization, and this is my first year with the RCSA. I'm an events committee member. So now I'll just pass it on to the other hosts.
Awesome. And can we move on to the next slide as well? Perfect. Actually, Heather, you want to go first?
Sure thing. Thanks, Will. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather, currently a RCSA events director here. This is my second year in RCSA, and I'm finishing up my fourth year here at Rotman Commerce.
Awesome. And I'm Will. I'm also a fourth-year student specializing in management. I'm the vice president for RCSA for this year. And for today, me and Heather will be kind of moderating, and then Enga will be the host.
Yeah, great. So as you guys know, the purpose of this event today is to have a lot of insight on the different things that go on in interest groups at Rotman Commerce. We'll be discussing several topics with the directors of the clubs, and you'll be getting a lot of information on not just what goes on in the clubs, but what kind of opportunities you have as first-year interns, and many of the tips and tricks that these students have learned over the years at Rotman, which can be valuable to you as well. So we'll be having our panel session at first, and then for any questions and queries that you have, which might not be addressed in the panel, we'll be opening the floor to you to make it an interactive Q&A session. During that time, please feel free to ask anything in the comments in the chat, and we'll make sure to get back to you.
Awesome. And just to note, the event will be recorded. So for those of you that want to look back, or for those of you, for example, on our website as well to kind of view later. Awesome. So I guess we'll start with introducing each of our panelists for today. And I guess we'll tell us a little bit about who you are, your year, specialization, club, and so on. Eclipse.
Sorry, I forgot we're going in order of the screen. Hi, everyone. My name is Eclipse. I am in my fourth year. I'm specializing in management with focuses in strategy and innovation and leadership in organizations. I'm the president of RCWIB this year, which is Rotman Commerce Women in Business. And the club is really here to just promote the personal and professional development in students at Rotman Commerce and highlighting women and gender equity within the community.
Awesome. Next we have Jai.
Hey everyone, this is Jay, and I'm the president of Rotman Commerce Pride Alliance. And as the organization is it's kind of obvious, so as the Pride group of Rotman Commerce, we focus on harnessing the power of the students who are part of the LGBTQ+ community, and also the ally supporters we have.
Awesome. And next we have Erin.
Okay, hi. So I'm Erin. I am in my fourth year this year, and I specialize in finance and economics. I am one of the captains at the case competition team. So what we do there is we go to national and international case competitions and represent the University of Toronto to compete against other schools.
Awesome, awesome. And next we have Emily.
Hey everyone, nice to meet you all today. My name is Amole, and I'm in my fourth year specializing in finance and econ as well. My hometown is Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm the president of the Rotman Commerce Sales Group. The sales group, the name gives it away as well, but pretty much just want to focus on letting people know what the industry of sales actually is. It's a lot of people have a misconcept about what sales is, and we're here to sort of change that notion and hopefully get you exposure to the world of sales. So yeah, lovely to chat with you guys today.
Awesome. And next we have Aaron.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron. I'm in 4th year, finishing up management specialization with focus in strategy and innovation. I'm the president of Rotman Commerce Toastmasters, which is Rotman Commerce's public speaking and communication skills group. We sort of function like a chapter of the much larger international organization, but we're always available looking for people to come in and participate. So looking forward to chatting with everyone today.
Perfect. And next we have Enzo.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Enzo. I'm a 4th year student specializing in management with a focus in marketing. I'm also the vice president of the Rotman Commerce Arts Group, which basically just provides a community and network for like-minded artists within the Rotman Commerce community. And I look forward to meeting the rest of y'all today.
Okay, perfect. And last but not least, we have Michael.
Great. Hi guys, my name is Michael. I'm in my 2nd year right now, specializing in management. And my club is RCPT, also stands for RC PropTech or Property Technology. And our club is an experiential learning group that's all about trying to get our members experiences, technical skills, and access to this this network of professionals in commercial real estate and commercial real estate tech, so they can hopefully get some jobs in the future, or maybe even start their own companies. And fun fact about me, when I was a kid, maybe 8 years old, I played one guy whose only job was to cry at the end of a Diary of a Wimpy Kid scene. So there it is.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome. Heather, do you want to go ahead with?
Yeah, sure. Awesome. Thanks, Will. Super excited to meet everyone, and I'm sure everyone here is super excited as well. I guess just to start us off, how about, let's see. How would you describe the environment culture in your organization? So give us maybe like a sentence or two to describe that, and everyone is welcome to answer this question. And this time, let's start reverse order, start from Michael, and then we'll end with Eclipse.
Yeah, sure. So we're a relatively new organization. We actually just started this year, so the culture is definitely still evolving. I'd say it's definitely on the more casual side, like we're all really good friends within the directors, and we're slowly getting into those habits that you get as a senior executive, where you try and get things done more efficiently, and you still have fun at the end of it, so everyone's having a good time.
Reverse. Okay, so in terms of culture, I'd say that our environment is pretty much like very open, very chill and casual. It's a safe space for really anyone who's an artist or even just an appreciator of art to express themselves within the community. I think in our events, sorry, it might be kind of loud. Our events itself are pretty chill. Like we have open mics, we have art exhibits. So it's really just a space for anyone to really just meet others within Rotman.
As for Rotman Commerce Toastmasters, sort of on our exec team, we're a small team. We're very casual, we're very friendly, and we believe a lot in like sharing the love, so helping each other out with what we have to get done. As for our membership and our meetings, we're all there to have a good time and to work on our skills, so very supportive, very open, very relaxed.
Yeah, so for the sales group as well, we're relatively new. I think we're about 4 years old now. And the people that would started it have actually all left. So it's pretty much a very fresh organization in terms of the team. A lot of new people, a lot of high energy. So one thing that's like big in our organization is the fact that we don't, like what year you are in Rotman doesn't really matter. We have like our VPs in 3rd year, we have a lot of directors who are in 2nd year, and like committee members who are 4th year. So it's more of like a merit-based thing. Whoever's is willing to take initiative, start new projects, those sort of things are sort of rewarded at RCSG. And yeah, we have a big culture of just, being open with everyone. It's pretty informal the way we do things. It's not pretty structured, like everyone can chat with everyone on a daily basis. And yeah, so it's not hierarchical in any sense. And yeah, that's a bit about RCSG.
Yeah, just to echo like a lot of other people who had really great cultures, I think the competition team is really supportive and they have a really great sense of openness because everyone wants to help each other out and learn and develop different skills. So there's a really good element of teamwork there too, because you get to meet so many unique people who bring so many different things to the table.
For the pride group, if I would have one word to say, I would describe it gay, but that's not entirely. We are a very, we have a lot of different types of people, like, people from various, as you might call it, the umbrella of the queer community and allies. In terms of our culture, like our club is not a new club, I would say. It's been here for like about 15 to 16 years. And what we have is we have like a very strong alumni relation, as we call it, because because that's how I feel like we have been able to cultivate those values which we have received from them into what we're gonna give further to the club. And I think like that might be somehow it's different, but again, like echoing what everyone else said, inclusive, informal, very chill. We love drag shows, so you can hit us up.
Yeah, I would say for RC Wib, it's very casual, very open, very supportive. It's one of the main reasons I chose this club in first year. Also echoing RCPA, RC Wib has a very connected, very large alumni base that continues to come to our events every year. They come back as panelists, they come back just to hang out sometimes. So yeah, very close knit, I would say. A lot of my great friends are on this team just by chance. So yeah, it's a really great, fun place to be, I would say.
Awesome. And Heather, do you want to, not to put you on the spot, but what would you say the culture at RCSA is like as well?
Oh, putting me on the spot here, Will. I would say to describe RCSA's culture in one word would be just community or family. I think like every organization in Rotman Commerce, we all have a really good culture where we want to support the lower years who are in our group, and we want to help them grow. And I think this is also especially true at RCSA because we're the student association and we really care about developing your skills if you're a first year, and the mentorship that the upper years can provide you is also very helpful for you as well. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. and now a little bit about just so we're curious, especially a lot of our first years looking to join some of these the clubs present here today, and we're wondering, given kind of the large number and the diversity of clubs within Rotman, what made you decide to apply as well as kind of join your specific club? And maybe we'll start with Eclipse and go back around again.
Yeah, so the main reason, I think with a large number of clubs in the Rotman Commerce community, as great as it is, it can be super overwhelming, especially if you were like me in first year and had no idea what you wanted to do and what you wanted to major in or study at all. So RC Web just seemed like a really great group because every member that I had met before joining seemed really open, and instead of promoting one skill or one area of business, they really just talked about how to improve yourself, how to boost your self-esteem, your confidence, and also how to tackle some of the challenges that women face in the business world. So I was really drawn to that. I was really drawn to how open everyone was and how supportive they all were to whatever stream I felt like going into. And yeah, I think that's why I chose RC Web.
So like many first years, I was very attracted towards those, like not interest groups, more into, those like student clubs. I feel like, all the accounting, finance, consulting, because I was like, oh, I just need to be here. But I didn't get in. And over the year, I attended like many events of different clubs. And by the end of it, I just felt comfortable the most attending RCPA's events because I felt like there was some kind of a community, which was not something which I saw in like the other events. I mean, the other events were more like geared towards academia, and I felt as a first year, like I just want to, like meet more people, chat more, like fit in because I'm an international student and queer student. So it was kind of good in terms of seeing, queer mentors attending those events. I think that kind of made me decide to, apply and, stick with RCPA.
I think the main reason why I joined the competition team is, first of all, the skills development aspect. So every single meeting, you're always learning and training to tackle a different business problem, and you just learn so much from getting that hands-on experience that you might not get in class. And then the other aspect that I really liked was just the competition side. If you're more competitive like me and kind of like to put your skills to the test, I think it's just such an amazing opportunity to travel, obviously not in COVID, but before COVID, you could travel and meet people from international schools and kind of share knowledge and share skills. So I think that aspect really drew me to the team.
Yeah, for the sales group, I think it's a two-pronged thing. So the first part was definitely that I used to attend a lot of RCTG events over the years. And then that's when I came to the realization as to what sales is. And, that's the biggest thing. It's like a lot of people, when we come to uni, we come with sort of perception that sales is like, oh, sell me this plan or sell me this product. And it's actually not that. Like selling is much more than it. Sales as a concept is much bigger, whether you're going to be in the most prestigious fields like investment banking or whatever. At the end of the day, when you climb up the ranks, all you're going to be doing is selling your business. You're bringing business into the company. And so sales is much more than what it looks like. And sort of when I learned what it is, I was actually determined to let more people know about what it is, show it in different ways through different events, through different sort of panels, companies, and those sort of things. So that was the first part of it, is definitely just learning what sales is and just wanting to have that impact on Rotman. And the second part of it was just, I genuinely love the people who were running the club before this. They were all really accomplished in what they were doing, and they were all like my mentors from first year. And they were just genuinely nice people, and everyone was willing to help me in whatever way I wanted to do. And I just thought it'd be a very good place to make friends. And yeah, that's what it turned out to be. So yeah, those are the two reasons I joined the sales group.
I joined RCT in my second year because at the end of first year, I participated in one of their events, the Public Speaking Championship. I had a great time, wrote myself a speech, got up and said it in front of a whole whack of people and some judges. It was terrifying, exhilarating, all in all, a wonderful experience. And it inspired me to join the club as a member, not as an executive. And so that meant for like a whole year, I was going to meetings, working on skills. And then only in my third year did I become an executive. So that's how I got involved.
For me, so I would say just like coming into my first year, I was just not as associated with Rotman. I tried a lot of different things, from joining a dance crew to like learning a little bit how to break dance, also like performing open mics throughout the city. So like, as you could see, I was just like very much into the artistic aspect of, or just arts in general. And in second year, my friend Zainab really founded RCTG, so it's a pretty new club. And it kind of just came into, it was kind of just like a very important thing for me, because it helped me step into Rotman, which at times can be very intimidating. So it provided really just like a space for me to feel very comfortable within Rotman, and like see how the arts can also be really valued. It's something that there's so many artists within the community itself, and you don't always see that with the fact that it's very much business oriented. So I think that's why RCTG was definitely a big thing for me.
Yeah, and as for me, I didn't actually get to join this club because it didn't exist last year. And the story for how me and my co-president actually ended up founding this thing was just, I was walking around Toronto with my dad, who was visiting me from Vancouver, and he was telling me about this cool conference his work put on. It's called the Colliers PropTech Accelerator, powered by Techstars. And just hearing about this, it's an event called Demo Day where all of these entrepreneurs and CEOs and founders, they come in and after working on their company for a little while, they try and get some venture capital. And then I was like, okay, what is that? What is prop tech? Right? I heard about fintech, I heard about all these other biz tech things, but that was a new one for me. And after I found out how interesting it was and how many opportunities there were for students, and just the fact that people didn't know about this, I figured I had to do something about it. So I just I took the opportunity and I saw it through.
It's definitely super awesome to hear. Very exciting to hear about all of your experiences. And I think I can definitely relate to a lot of them. And because of your personal interests, you kind of choose what group you want to be a part of that really resonates with your personal values. And next up, I guess it's a question that I personally wonder as well, since I'm not the president of any student group. So what has been the biggest challenge so far as the president of your respective student group? And how have you been tackling that problem? Let's do starting from Michael again, putting you on the spot again.
No worries. Yeah, so my biggest challenge personally, I don't know if all the rest of the presidents here have this, but it's just figuring out how much you can be involved. Because when you're at the top of this organization, you have, I just want to have a hand in every pot, but that's not the most efficient way to run an organization. And you need to hire people that you can trust so that you don't have that issue. But of course, because it was really new and I had my role to play in starting this club, I think at the beginning I was definitely more eager to be involved in all the little aspects. But being able to step back and knowing you can trust your team, that's something that really helps going forward.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Michael. Like having not too much of a hand on everything that's going on is kind of like a hard thing to strike a balance. But I think everyone's gonna say this is pretty much just adjusting to COVID and like how everything virtually has just been like, it's like flipped everything upside down. Just before this, we were talking about how virtual events in general have just been it's very different from in-person events. In person, everything's so much easier. There's a lot of certainty. You know where things are going to be. With this, it's like sometimes just the fact of like not getting a link right away at times can be something that can be stressful. And also just what I would say is finding ways to basically meet with your team, because everyone is, again, like virtual. You have people in different time zones, and planning that has been kind of difficult, taking into account classes. It's just, yeah, that's definitely been a struggle.
I definitely have to agree with you, Enzo, about the adapting to virtual events is certainly a challenge. I think for RCT, a big thing that the sort of I think about in the day-to-day of running the club is that we have these sort of like core activities that the club needs to do to sustain themselves, and those are going to happen. Like the team's on task, we're all communicating, we'll make those happen. But when we have like our exec meetings, usually we get off topic, we start like talking about like our future plans, how we'd like the club to look in like 5 years. And the team comes up with all these like great ideas for the things that we should do differently or things we can incorporate in the future. And it's finding the time and the resources to push past like our functions to what we could also be doing, that I think is a big challenge.
Yeah, so yeah, a few things are pretty similar, I guess, across all groups. So definitely the fact that everything's online now, that's been tough. And yeah, as it's my first year in this sort of role as well, and whenever something's going wrong in any team, whether it's like marketing events or whatever, you as a president, I feel we probably all have the urge to sort of like get our hand in it and try make sure that everything's being okay, which is something I've been guilty of. And yeah, I realize that it's pretty taxing, and I'm realizing that some of the group isn't doing much and I'm doing a lot of stuff. So that's been a problem that I've come to face. And yeah, I think one more thing that's at least an internal problem is just that I feel like there's some batch of students that are really good at like being on social media constantly, and there's just others who are really not, like using Facebook or Messenger or whatever it is you're going to use to communicate much. So yeah, getting sort of the team to be online and like be as responsive as I want them to is being a bit of a challenge, especially as well because of the different time zones. In person, it's a bit easier. We know everyone's on campus. We just tell them like we'll meet in the Woodsworth basement or whatever, and everyone will come. But when it's online, it's being a bit of a hassle to sort of get everyone to like take initiative and stuff like that. So yeah, internally that's been a bit of a challenge as well. But I think it's just with time that we'll all learn how to be online, and I hope everyone will get used to it. So yeah, that's about RCTG.
I think for the RCCT, something that we've encountered challenges with is just the amount of things that need to be done. And I'm sure everyone in a leadership position can relate. But when you are managing a team, you don't only think about what the club is doing, like weekly meetings or side projects, but you also have to mobilize a team, keep everyone engaged, and then again, be active on social media and be doing all these marketing things. So I think there's always something that you can be doing, and that's the hardest part about running a club from the top down. But something that has helped our team overcome these challenges is just really relying on each other to delegate roles, take on the tasks that everyone is strong at, and I think the team effort really shows and makes the team great.
I'd say pretty much similar to what everyone has said, that there is a, like, when you're at the top of the position of the organization, you kind of always have that sense of that, oh, we have to like accomplish these certain tasks, and sometimes that leads to like you micromanaging other people, but I'm happy that it was only like by a month in and I was like, okay, no, that's not working. So so I think that has been one of the core challenges. The other challenges I would say that like because of COVID, that you don't know what the other person in the team is going through, and like even though like you can be like very close to people, there's still that like that level which might be present, that you're like you don't know exactly that like if someone's okay or not, or like if they have a busy schedule and stuff like that, which happens like in normal years too, I guess. But due to everything being online and all the screen time, so that has been a little issue, I would say. In terms of solving those issues, like we are still solving them, and in terms of my micromanaging thing, like I took a leadership course from the Harvard Business School in the summer as a side gig. It was fun. Like I highly recommend it. I mean, I know like maybe Rotman has one course too. So that kind of helped me, figure out, like with that, like I was able to adapt myself into the case studies, whichever we did, and get a better idea of that. So.
I think with RC Wib, I think this challenge is really coming from myself and the way I wanted to approach this year. And that's like to kind of break down like the very bureaucratic nature that a lot of RC clubs tend to have just by nature of like all the different roles. Like we have the president, your directors, you have managers, sometimes committee members, and then interns. And it's like there are sometimes only 2 or 3 years of experience and knowledge between these different levels. So for me, it was the challenge that I had was kind of breaking down these barriers to make it seem like, this wasn't, you didn't have to go through 3 people to have a conversation with me. And that's been the biggest thing right now for me, is how to get rid of those like structural barriers and like connect with every single person on the team, because we can get really caught up in our core functions. And a lot of first, second, third year students come into these clubs with amazing ideas that would elevate the group to an entirely new level. And it's just about hearing those things. And the way that I've been trying to approach it really is just to make myself more present in the community, not just with your directors. And I always like kind of suggest this to any student leader that I talk to, is like, talk to the people, talk to your interns like one-on-one. Don't rely on your directors or your committee members to pass on messages for you. Like if you're friends with this person on Facebook, or if you have this person's number, if you have them on Instagram, like message them. I'm really trying to make a point this year of congratulating like individual members of the team on like a job well done, like from the marketing team, like not just the marketing director. Talk to that person, find out who did who did that promotion, find out who had that idea for the event, and like talk to them. And it's you, like as a student leader, putting yourself out there and showing that there's no bureaucracy in your student group. Like that's how you're going to get the most connections with people. And I think that's a meaningful connection to make within your like RC community.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely echo a lot of the kind of problems that other presidents have been facing. And in RCSA, I think one that is really big as well is just we are a pretty big organization. With that comes the challenge of, I guess, community building within the group. And I think this year, especially with virtually, you kind of only virtually do you realize, wow, like having a party really gets people to know each other a lot better than you thought. And kind of virtually it's a lot harder. And so we're trying to kind of break down barriers and really try to play a lot of games. We're getting creative with cross committee socials and so on as well. So yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of sentiments there. So I guess now moving on to another question. I think we'll get into some more questions that are more specific to certain groups, and then others can also jump in as well. So our first question for that goes out to Enzo and RCTG. And if any other group wants to jump in, feel free as well. So we're wondering, at a program like Rotman especially, people might start to lose touch with their passions and maybe focus on what they seem to be more, for example, safe or practical as a career choice. You kind of lose sight of passions, and we're wondering how can one maybe strike a balance between the two with the help of maybe resources and community at Rotman?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. So I think particularly, definitely like knowing what your interests really are. So if it's like music, whether it's dance, whether it's whatever it is particularly, you can try to find a way to work within those fields too. So like, yeah, we have people within our club that in addition to doing a student group, in addition to also schoolwork, they're also working at some sort of like music, open mic kind of experience where they can meet other artists. They can also extend their connections, and one that also helps them in terms of probably, let's say, finding a job within the music field, but also you just meet a lot of cool people. And that kind of like sometimes extending your own network beyond Rotman too can really help. And you can bring that back towards your club. So for us, a lot of the times it's helped because we've had artists perform at our events too. And just like, because of that, understanding your own balance between school and your interests and when to mix the two, I think that's how you can kind of create like, that's how you can reap the benefits of your Rotman like education as well.
If I can just jump in, I think it's really important to understand that your passions are not something that can come, you know, whenever you've done all your other work. Those are important. You have to spend time on those passions. So make sure, you know, it depends how you organize yourself, but put in the hours, right? 5 hours or whatever, how many hours a week, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to do the thing that I like to do. I'm going to put in that event in my calendar and make sure I commit to going to it. Making sure you're happy and that you're feeling good about what you're doing is probably the most important thing when it comes to academic success or success even in your career and stuff like that. So make sure you keep doing the things you like. And yeah, like Enzo said, maybe there's a career there. You just need to keep pushing a little harder.
I'd also would say, like, I would encourage everyone, like if you're on a student group or if you are like involved extracurricularly somewhere else, like leverage that position and use it to kind of incorporate your passion directly into your schooling. So a lot of members on RC Wib, you know, are passionate about like fashion or sports or like social media, and they'll find ways to incorporate that into the events that we do. So, you know, I'm sure, especially with things being virtual this year, budget doesn't seem to be as much of a problem as much as time is. So if you have time to, you know, find a few people to host a panel on like fashion or dance or whatever it is you're interested in, get it together and like see how you can incorporate it. And you know, those people who you contact and find to sit on your panel are going to have a lot of advice for how to navigate that industry and that field and find a way to like express their passions and their self-interests as well in their profession.
Yeah, I just want to hop in and add something as well. So something that I have realized over the, like in my time in Rotman, is that there are specific individuals who are like really good at whatever craft they are doing. So whether it's like maybe like video editing or anything, it might be like whatever you're interested in outside of school. If you generally become good at it and you put like maybe 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day, whatever, 10 hours a week on it, you can become so good at it that you can leverage that to land your dream position in whatever industry that you want to be in. So whatever industry you want to be in, accounting, finance, consulting, whatever it might be. At the end of the day, when you have your interview, if you're able to pass the first stage and you generally are able to have a conversation about your passions and tell them about like X amount of things you've done and whatever it might be, that might be a really good factor to make you stand out against a lot of other people. So do invest time. Do not feel like it's something that you're taking away from your time to study or whatever. Your 1 or 2 additional points on your GPA will not matter as much. So like just run with your passion at some point. And I think in your 20s is, or whatever it might be, is your time to take a risk. And if you want to sort of jump into the thing full time, that whatever your passion is, this is the time to do so. Right before, I guess, you have to start a family or whatever. So this is time to explore it as much as you can. And so, yeah, I want to encourage you. I can guarantee you're going to get caught up in the hype of like getting into like investment banking or into consulting or any sort of these elite jobs. Yes, okay, there is money at the end of the day in those industries, but run with your passion, put as much as you can into it, see if there's something you can get out of it. And at the end of the day, that's going to make you the happiest if you get into it. So yeah, I definitely would say do not put school first, of course, but also do put time into your passions.
I totally agree. I think especially now that, you know, you work, maybe you go to school and then you work 9 to 5, you come back home and you're like, okay, so my work is done now. Now what do I do? Like for those people who kind of lost touch with their passion and just devoted yourself to work for all the time, I think that it can really take away from who you are. And it's really important to remember that you are a person. You're not just someone who's working for a big company, and to have that like little special thing about yourself is super important. Next up, this question is directed at RCSG and RCT. So how can students strive to improve their communication and interpersonal skills, especially through in-person and virtual settings, since we are making a transition right now?
Amule, you want to go ahead first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead first. Sorry. So the question was, how do people improve their communication virtually and in person? Was that the question? Yeah. As cliche as it's going to sound, you have to practice. Like you genuinely have to put yourself out there. So like for me, I think I come from a third world country. The way language is spoken here is much different. Slangs, everything that you're going to be talking, networking event, when you're talking to professionals, all the lingo you're going to use is very different from what you use maybe back home in high school or whatever. And that's an art that generally is probably underrated, but you genuinely need to learn it probably through events. Toastmasters is probably the best way to do it. I've seen their events. They have great events there. But yeah, I think like, so when I was in person, at least I can say I was going for events, and generally what happens is like there's one individual and it's like 10 people around him. Just sort of putting yourself out there and not being the shy one. At the end of the day, you need to learn like you're not going to lose anything. Don't worry about what others will perceive of you is probably the biggest advice I have in that kind of space. Is like just put yourself out there. It doesn't matter. Someone might say like you asked a stupid question or whatever. Honestly, that doesn't really matter whenever you're in a networking situation. In terms of online, again, I'm probably new to it as well, but just small things here and there do matter. I think definitely keep your cameras on as much as you can. I think it's a good way to just put your face out there, especially in this setting. A lot of you probably aren't able to meet or connect with a lot of people through online settings. So just like I've seen through the events I'm running RCTG as well, I do recommend just keep your camera on whenever there's the time for Q&A, raise your hand, ask anything. I think at this point in time, there's actually a deficiency of the amount of people that are chatting online or talking. So I've seen in a lot of events that there's people that like in events, it's just quiet. So be the one standing out, use those as opportunities for yourself to sort of make an impression on people. And who knows, that probably will land you your internship at some sort of role in any of these clubs. So yeah, I do definitely say just don't be shy. Don't worry about what people are going to think about you, especially in your first year. I think that's something that I know I was guilty of and a lot of people were guilty of as well. literally don't worry. Like the one thing you realize in uni, like you shouldn't give a shit about what people think about you and just put yourself out there.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Aaron is having a little bit of issues with fire alarm, so maybe I'll add a little bit to the discussion as well. I think maybe in terms of academics for people who are maybe scared about their communication presentation in courses, for example, I think really for those ones, put yourselves out there again, and I think don't try to avoid courses or areas where there's presentation involved. I know some people that tends to be more analytical, for example, tends to avoid courses that involve a lot of presentations, kind of group work and so on. And I think really taking the initiative to step out of your comfort zone in those areas, specifically academics, can really help you improve in those areas. And that's one of the main takeaways of, I think, a program like Rotman Commerce as well. It really helps you build those skills. It kind of forces you almost, and I think it's a good way to kind of, if you do want to improve yourself in those areas, to not shy away from kind of the challenge there.
I would like to add a little as well. So with everything transitioned online, so what I've seen helped me is that you kind of have to develop that attitude in terms of whenever something happens, try to see what good you can make out of it. Like if it's like a virus, so like no more in-person networking and all that. Like try to see what is the benefit of just if it's like a virtual setting. So like what has helped me is like I'm more of an introverted kind of person, so normal person in-person networking would freak me out, but online networking, this is my thing. Like this is where I'm winning, because I've been having calls off like about 10-15 calls a week with people. I'm able to recollect whatever information I'm receiving, I'm processing it more better than like if you would be out there. So I think understand like how you work and try to see positive out of things, and I think like that can definitely help you understand and like improve upon, and don't feel shy to ask for help, because I feel like with such a new change and sudden thing, like everyone is on the same level. So yeah, don't shy away from asking for help. Like people will be happy to help you.
Yeah, awesome. Those are some really great advice for sure. And actually, Aaron is back. Do you want to add anything, or is this kind of still going on?
Well, the alarm has stopped, but I have missed the past minute or two of our conversation.
No worries, no worries. Actually, I think it's back on. Okay, in that case, I think maybe we'll move on to the next question, and then maybe we'll come back to it later if we have time. So next question is directed towards RC Whip as well as RCPA, and also again, everyone else feel free to jump in as well. And I'm wondering for students, especially first years, kind of what resources can they use, and what actions can they take to maybe find clubs and opportunities that can support their growth and make them essentially feel included as well in kind of the RC community, as well as maybe just any community at U of T at large.
Jay, do you want to start?
Oh yeah, sure. I would say be yourself, because I feel like you're in first year, you don't think, like you have to like conform yourself into, what kind of expectations will come, from being part of that club. Like if you're interested and, passionate about something, and like, there is a club available, providing that kind of a feature for you. So go for it. If you're like super, I don't know, into, which one do we have here? Like, yeah, if you're super into like, consulting case competitions, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be my thing. So like, hit Aaron up and, like ask people around that, so how, like what goes on in their club, and like how your passion can complement them. So yeah, think about yourself. Look at your strengths and weaknesses, like having a little, you know, like a mini SWOT, if you do for yourself, it's very helpful. And yeah, like feel free to reach out to people, whichever club you're applying, because like they'll be very happy to reply, because not a lot of people do it. So take advantage of that resource.
Yeah. I don at the university college residences, and I have for the past 2 years. So I'm very big on like getting people connected to resources and helping them find, you know, a way to be involved. And I would just say, look everywhere, like look in places that you wouldn't expect. So, you know, if you aren't really into the Rotman commerce community, you know, the art side community, your like college, whether you're in Wordsworth or UC or Victoria College, like all of them have different student unions, different things going on that are available for you to give you that experience and to find that community that is so vital and so important, especially in your first year. I would also suggest just going to events with your friends. Like if you see something that pops up on Instagram or Facebook, or, you know, I always check those 9 things that you didn't know about U of T emails, because I just find really cool events and I've joined clubs because of them. So things that you wouldn't expect, like grab a friend. With things being online, it's really easy to just click a link and join without your video or your audio on, so you can kind of just hang around until you see something that you like. But just, you know, feel free to take advantage of all the things that are going on campus. There are so many people who are, you know, working really hard to continue these resources and to continue hosting these events for people and for all the students on campus. So check them out, see what's going to work for you, and see maybe what you aren't so interested in it. Because even if you go to an event and it sucks and you hate it, like at least you know that you're not interested in that group. And I would definitely echo what Jay said about reaching out to people on Instagram. If you find a club that you like or that you just want to know about and you think that you want to join it, DM their Instagram page. I guarantee you there is someone behind it that is happy to get your message. And if you know that isn't received positively, that's probably not a group you want to be joining anyways. So just put yourself out there, and if that's scary, find a friend to put yourself out there with, or, you know, reach out to somebody on a Facebook page or an Instagram page that might want to go with you. But yeah, that's my advice for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of, especially first years, maybe underestimate or overestimate the amount of people that reach out in those channels. They probably think like a lot of these clubs are being flooded with messages, but that's usually not the case. I feel like it's kind of like everyone thinks that, so no one reaches out to people to for example chat with them or just ask questions. And I think in this virtual environment, if you do that, it'll really stand out. I mean, recently I think I've chatted with maybe 2 first years, and I definitely think that kind of by reaching out, they kind of put themselves at advantage over other, for example, applicants if they're looking to join a certain club, for sure.
Totally agree with that, Will. And since we are on the topic of, I guess, first years joining a new school, feeling a little overwhelmed in terms of, oh, what specialist should I do? What industry should I go into, since commerce is such a diverse and pretty applicable industry. So my question is kind of surrounding, how do students choose their specialists and find a specific field that they're interested in? So this question is directed towards competition team and prop tech, since those two are very kind of niche interests. How did you guys find those interests, and how did you make that decision?
I didn't know if Michael wanted to go first or.
Yeah, sure. So if I can just reiterate the question, how we found our unique interests, and then kind of how that led us to choose our specialists and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So definitely in your first year, you've got so much time to just explore, and I don't think you should feel any pressure to choose something right away. I think the only thing you have a duty to do is to explore, look around, see what things you find interesting. And when it comes to interest groups and stuff like this, I don't think they have to be connected to what you're pursuing academically. Sometimes it helps, right? If you're going into something like entrepreneurship or innovation or, prop tech, fintech, something like that, it's helpful if you're interested in managing people. Maybe there's some groups, for example, that rely a little bit more on technology and you want to have that under your belt. You're going to take, CSC 108 or something like that. Personally, though, I just found out that what I want to do is management, and that I like entrepreneurship, and that I like leadership and stuff like that. So I decided to go and start the specialist here. Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, we haven't really seen too much specific management courses yet. I'm sure some of the fourth years here have a little bit of a better idea what it's going to be like that down the road. So yeah, in a nutshell, go explore and just take a leap of faith.
Yeah, I think along those lines of what Michael was saying, I personally don't think that your specialist has everything to do with where you're going to end up in the future. For example, I'm in finance and economics, but as you can tell by competition, I do consulting and the kind of management. So I think really when you're deciding a stream courses you like, but then
I think maybe a little bit of connection issues, unless it's just me.
Yeah, I think it's a connection issue on Erin's end right now.
Oh, sure, okay.
Yeah, it's okay. We will wait for her, but I would like to just add on, I think what Michael said was really true. What you are doing in your specialist doesn't really have anything to do with what you are interested in. For example, I'm in management, but I took a lot of courses in finance and accounting as well. And I find the knowledge that I had was really helpful for my internship, which was in operations. And my specialist in management was marketing, which is not super related at all. So your specialty doesn't really have anything to do with what you want to do in a job. It just kind of helps you develop a skill. And I think knowing what you want to do in an industry and what you want to do as a job really comes after you have that internship experience where you're actually in the job to experience what it's like in the role. I don't know if anyone has anything to add on that.
Yeah, that's something. I just want to say, like, I was reading the new management syllabus the other day, and I think it's great. I think in previous years, especially when I was coming to U of T, sort of for some reason, whatever it is, the management specialist was looked down on. But I think now that it's actually, for me, in my opinion, probably the best specialist out there, you can do a double degree with something else. If you're interested in computer science, which is probably the next big thing, or is the big thing, you could do a double degree in management and comp sci, which would probably make you stand out already in terms of your skills. So especially with like things like fintech and everything booming. So I think like use the new flexibility in the syllabuses to your advantage. If you do end up taking the management specialist, either try explore one route in Rotman more, so maybe do like more accounting courses or more finance courses, or if there's something else you're interested in, it could be like geography or like whatever else, comp sci, whatever you want to be in. Take that route and definitely explore it. I think like there's a very marginal difference between you being in finance and econ versus management, or accounting and management. Maybe accounting a bit more because of the CPA thing, but in terms of finance and econ versus management, I think with the way things are, there's not that much of a difference. Like you could still land whatever finance job you want with a management specialist. I don't think recruiters know or really care much about the specialist. All of us are still BCom at U of T. So it doesn't really matter. So yeah, don't go into finance and econ just because everyone else is. See what suits you the best, and see if there's something else you're interested in, and use uni as a way to do it. I don't think there's probably another opportunity you'll get to learn this much anywhere else. You'll probably be sort of pigeonholed in whatever industry you end up in. So use this as an advantage to yourself and explore different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely echo that. I think in first year, especially at RC, it seems like because of maybe people just feel that you kind of have to choose the optimal path almost, that in a lot of times people just follow what other people do. And I think in my first year, it was kind of everyone was kind of going towards the finance and economics stream. And I think the biggest advice to echo Amelie a little bit, just to really figure out what you want to do. And I think try to maybe even for a specialist, try to do one that you feel like align with some of your passions rather than just following what the crowd is doing. And I think to Emily's point, the management specialist has gone through a lot of changes, and I think it's really a flexible specialist going forward. So for those of you that are maybe exploring specialists, I would recommend kind of exploring a little bit into management, especially for going forward. But at the same time, obviously, if you're super passionate about finance and economics, just go for that. Yeah. Okay, awesome. And I guess for our next couple of questions, it'll be more specifically targeted towards advice for first years, maybe especially drawing from a lot of your experience as well. First one is about managing time between, especially at RC, you have classes going on, you have extracurriculars, you have to worry about kind of professional as well as your just stuff going on in your personal life. And we're wondering for you guys, any advice for first years on how to manage all of those things?
I'm happy to take this one here. I am a crazy person when it comes to trying to organize myself. I used to be so bad at it. I can never remember when I had my dentist appointment, when my haircut was, when we've gotten meetings, classes, whatever. So I tried everything in the book. I can tell you I've got to-do lists, I've got weekly to-do lists and dailies, I've got calendars. And I have this little schedule for myself for the week that I loosely follow based on, what hours of the day I have, certain studying and stuff to do. I don't think that works for everybody. It barely works for me. But what works for everybody is figuring out something that you like to do. The to-do lists are my favorite just because I get that a little addictive hit of dopamine every time I hit a check mark. And that's incentive. Any little bit of incentive that helps you do your work is helpful. So maybe try it out. Add a couple to-do lists, or maybe figure out your weekly schedule and stuff like that. Take a chance.
I've got a system too that Michael, you might actually want to consider, and I'd recommend it to anybody. When you have a lot of things to do and you're like, oh, I don't want to do any of it, I find like the hardest part is just getting started instead of putting it off for another day. What I like to do is set a timer for like 30 minutes and just say, no matter what, I'll work for 30 minutes. I'll check things off, push them out of the way. And after that, we can take a break. And the next thing you know, you're not having a very high utilization because you only work for 30 minutes, you break for 15, another 30, maybe you take a 30-minute break. It's not about being efficient. It's just about pushing yourself to do something.
And if I could also just add, in general, I think with managing time, doing the things that you love and that maybe don't seem like priorities because you're a student, it might seem like wasted time, but it actually helps you manage your time. I came in from high school being a very active person with extracurriculars, and in my first year I thought that I had to get rid of all of them to focus on school 100%. And all I found was that I just focused on not studying for 24 hours of a day instead of 6. So having those extracurriculars that you allow yourself to enjoy and that you want to do makes it so that you have to make time and efficient use of your time in order to be able to go do them. So if you sign up for an intramural team, or if you sign up for a club that has a weekly meeting or that has an event, that you need to get math or econ or management or whatever it is done before you can go to play that intramural game or before you can go to that event. So don't think that allocating all of your time to school is just going to make you magically more efficient. It's actually about having other things in your life going on that force you to find those methods of time management like Michael and Aaron have mentioned.
Yeah, I just want to hop on and say one thing. I think something that I did realize, time management is probably my worst trait, or whatever you want to call it. So one thing that I did realize when I was chatting to someone about this, he told me about this concept of energy management over time management. I don't know how many of you have sort of encountered that, but just basically what it means is that take care of the small basic things in your life, eat well, probably leave home, I guess, in this COVID situation, just go for a walk, just be active a bit. And that will just allow you to be productive with the little hours that you do have. So make sure that whatever hours you're awake or whatever hours that you're going to be on your desk, use them wisely. So the point is, you shouldn't be at your desk 10 to 12 hours a day trying to study, even if it's just 3 or 4 hours a day. Use those 3 or 4 hours correctly, and you can use the other hours to yourself, whatever else you want to do, your passions, enjoy, whatever, cook food, whatever it might be. So yeah, sort of just take care of yourself on an energy basis. Like make sure you're doing the boring things right, like eating well or whatever it might be, and then the other things will fall into place at some point with all the other things that everyone's told you. So yeah, just a small thing to know.
Similar to what Amirullah just said, I think what helps to have an effective time management is like if you can like have a proper like sleeping schedule, because like over COVID, like okay, May and June, like those were like I do not want to be that person who's waking up at like I don't know 4 in the evening and going to bed at like I don't know after like my morning walk and breakfast. So don't be that. Like if you can get a good sleeping schedule like early on, and develop that habit, I feel like that can be very helpful. And to get that good sleeping schedule, like what has helped me is if I have like one activity which I want to do immediately, I wake up after. So like now it's mostly like I live near campus, so I love going for a morning jog. So like try to find if there's like anything you can do.
And just from me, I think a little bit of advice on time management, especially for first year. I think for me, maybe I was just really dumb and I didn't realize, but for me, I had a really hard time taking account into kind of all the different platforms that we were using and all the kind of different emails that we had. And I think just aggregating them all into one would really, really help you. For example, in my first couple of months, I had a really hard time remembering that I had a UTOR email that I had to check. And then I realized, why don't I just link that to my Gmail and send all my emails there? So that's what I ended up doing. And that helped me a lot. So I think small stuff like that can really help you organize kind of your life a little bit as well.
As a fourth year, I still didn't know you could link your Gmail with your eTour email, but I know today, and I guess I'll do that later today. Thanks, Will, and everyone for the advice. Super helpful for sure. So I guess some questions that are more specific, targeted towards like first years who are looking to apply to your group. This is for everyone. How much time commitment would you say these clubs require from these first year interns each week, and how much time should they allocate to your club?
I'm happy to go. I think for RCTG, and I would believe this is probably consistent across all groups. It depends on the time of the year. So recently, like I guess over the past month, it's been really busy because of like, we have like first year we had clubhouses, and then we had sort of our orientation event, and we have another event coming up. So for me, at least in RCTG, the correlation of time depends on the events of how many sort of things are going on. So come like December, you'll probably not even hear much from your groups. They'll just be inactive, and like things will just like the core functions will just be running. But so yeah, I would say it depends sort of on the time. And generally events tend to be not during exam season. So that way, whenever exams are going on, you're probably not going to be doing too much with your group. So I would say generally during the off season times in the semester, like the start of the semester or like right after reading week or whatever, those are probably like the busy periods, and you're probably putting like, it also depends on what team you're in. So if you're in marketing, you probably are putting in a lot of time beforehand. If you're events, you're probably putting a lot of stuff towards the date of the event. So it depends what team you're in. But I think if I was to give you an hourly basis, I don't know, if you spend like probably 3 hours, 4 hours a week, it's probably a lot as well. If you like 3 actual full hours. So it depends on the sort of organizations, commitments, who you have on your team. Some teams are very lean, some teams have a lot of people. So yeah, as we were talking about, when sort of the problems that we're having is delegation. So I guess if you coming as an intern, it seems like a lot of us are doing the tasks ourselves. So you probably don't have a lot going on. So I do recommend put your hand up if you don't have a lot going on. Say like, hey, is there something I can help with? I think a lot of us would appreciate that. We do have a lot going on our plates as well. So yeah, I don't think it's probably the biggest commitment as a lot of people do fear it to be. And if there's any time or constraint, I think all of us would be happy. We've been in your shoes. We understand your Eco 101 and RSM 100s and all these challenging courses that you're being through. So just don't be hesitant to reach out if you ever feel like it's being too much of a burden. We do understand where you're coming from. And yeah, I don't think RC clubs are too much of a commitment overall, especially if you're interested in them and you want to make an impression and like grow in the club. It's something that you definitely want to be doing regardless of the work that's been given to you, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my take on it.
One thing to keep in mind, I just wanted to say, is that, you know, you have this commitment, but you also have these upper years are kind of like your mentors. So you can use that to your advantage, right? If you're struggling on something in your finance course or whatever, or you know, your eco, you could use the people here that have gone through this already and just bounce ideas off them or something like that. And maybe that even helps you in your academics. So yeah, and also I think when it comes to hourly, I totally agree with Amelie. 3 hours to 5 hours, I think, is like the real maximum. Although if you're putting in 5 hours a week, you're probably doing a lot more. Yeah, 1 hour of meetings probably, and then a couple just figuring things out, like he was saying, during those tough times when events are right about to come in, but not really during exam times anyways.
To just add on what Amelie and Michael are saying, I think the amount of like hours per week work it is to be involved in an RC club really just increases the higher up you move through the organization. Like, let's all be realistic. Like, speaking from my club's perspective, we run just fine without interns. Like, we don't really need the interns to do anything. Really, we're trying to give the interns opportunities for them to have experiences and to learn. But do we really depend on our interns? Not really. So an internship for at least for us isn't going to take many hours out of your week. You know, going to meetings, going to our weekly meetings, that you're doing for your own benefit. But in terms of like actual like work, an hour a week at the most. It's when you become an executive, and then for me, like as a president, like I put in at least an hour every day into the club. That's when it starts to get you.
Awesome. I think, yeah. Same as Emily. Definitely 100% agree on all of that. Interns, for us as well. Mainly, we're here to provide you guys kind of an experience rather than trying to get labor out of you guys, for sure. Perfect. So I think now we'll move on to kind of the open Q&A period, and we have one question in the chat. So everyone else, feel free to drop whatever questions you have, and then we'll kind of take them live. So for our first question that we see here for our presidents, kind of how can first years that are applying stand out amongst their applicants, whether it be, I guess, I'm guessing just throughout the entire process.
Message us. Yeah, I would really just say talk to us in any way that you can get a hold of us. Add us on LinkedIn, message us on Instagram, come to our events and ask questions like you're doing now. I think you definitely stand out. Like any first year that I have spoken about before in interviewing them in this club have always been people who have come up and talked to either me or another director on the team. And, you know, it's always going to be that case. Like, if you think that you're asking too many questions, you're not. We love to talk in it. We love to answer these questions, and it'll always end up being in a sense where you know, talk to the person who's going to be interviewing them and say, oh yeah, I remember, you know, Sam, we talked a bunch on Instagram. Like, they seem really interested in the club. And I think that they would be, you know, really interesting to talk to, because it sounds like they had a lot of cool ideas or cool questions. So just message us.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think I just want to say, like, stay humble, be humble during your interviews at any point, I guess, in Rotman. Just stay humble. I've had a couple of experiences last year where, like, first years probably have had an internship prior to coming to U of T, which is probably rare, and they have some sort of ego boost because of whatever it might be. So they seem like, and as Aaron just said, like, as ruthless as it sounds, like, we can run without you happily. So the day, if you come to the interview acting like we're doing you a favor, we're definitely not. So I know it sounds weird, and I don't mean to say in a bad way, but like, don't just be humble. Like, actually, if you've done stuff, use it in a nice way, translate it to show you how you can bring things to the team. I've had a couple of rough experiences with people who think, you know, they're probably better than whoever the peers are or whatever. So if you really stand out, don't make yourself stand out too much. Like, just be humble, tell us what you can do, show that you can bring initiative, show that you're willing to learn. As you said, we're here to give you as many opportunities as you can. And yeah, as Eclipse said as well, it's important, if you have attended any of the events, use like some sort of knowledge or information that you got from there. Tell them like what inspired you to actually be in this position. Tailor your cover letter. A lot of big thing that I've seen is just people sort of change the cover letter first line or whatever it might be to every club. Change that. See, like, cover letter is probably a place you can stand out first. Make sure that, because I'm assuming a lot of you probably don't have a lot of experiences professionally coming into U of T. So use your cover letter to say sort of what you've done in high school that you think can transfer, and what sort of things you can bring to the table just outside of experiences. So I don't think a lot of us will evaluate you on sort of like what you've been in high school or what you've done, but sort of more of your personality on the day of what you can bring to the table, regardless of your qualifications or your experiences. So yeah, I would say that just make sure you're able to communicate that properly. And in this online setting, if by any way you can impress us outside of in person, it means a lot. So yeah, just show you can take initiative and be like part of the team with a lot of energy. We would appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think both Eclipse and Amelie have some good points, especially about like coming and actually talking to us and reaching out. But we do all have to go through the application process on the portal. So when it comes to that, exactly like Amelie said, I'm not expecting to see a Nobel Peace Prize on your resume, all right? Like, you guys are just coming out of high school. There's no expectations. It's totally okay if your resume is just a couple things you did, in high school. But when it comes to the cover letter, this is where it becomes a little bit more important. Applying with a cover letter is kind of like sending out a text to somebody you're asking out, right? You can't text that person and then also text 5 other people the same thing, because they all talk to each other. So it's not going to look very nice if you're sending the same exact cover letter to everybody. But when you tailor it to somebody, it shows not only that you're interested in that specific club, but that you care enough to actually say why you're interested. And that's the most important thing. You really just have to show that you care and that you like that specific interest, that club.
Michael, I want to disagree with you on the cover letter. I think the last thing I will do when I get my intern applications and I have this stack of cover letters is call up Michael and say, hey, want to compare them and see if Google can find the matches between these? I will never do that. But what will happen is if you apply to a club with a cover letter that isn't personal, it will not stand out against the cover letters that are personal. And that's what really matters. For me, when it comes to cover letter, when it comes to the interview, what really matters the most is the personality behind it. Like, we're all coming from more or less high school backgrounds as you apply, and experiences are pretty much canceling out across applications. What doesn't cancel out is the personality, and that's what shines through. A thing that might be helpful to keep in mind, and I can't speak for the other groups because obviously everyone's looking for something a little different, is our clubs are not businesses. Like, you don't need to write cover letters and interview as though like you're sitting in like the lobby of a bank. You're sitting across the table from students who are maybe like somewhere between 1 and 3 years older than you. Like, we're basically your peers. The very, very, very little separates the upper year executives of a Rotman Commerce Club from a first year intern who's applying for that position. Being comfortable with yourself, treating them like you would treat somebody who you could meet in real life, and not in like some strange fantastical version of reality like Suits or Dragon's Den. That's real life. That's, for me, that's how you kill the interview, and that's how you come across as a real human being in the cover letter.
Sorry, I was about to say something, but I was like, okay. So I was gonna echo something which Michael said before, was, while writing your own cover letter, don't reuse the same thing, and take your time to, research, if you can. If you feel that, like just being comfortable enough is something, which may not work for you, and you want to go the extra mile, go for it. Like, look them up, see, what kind of events they have done in past, see, like if something sounds cool, just to ask them, because that kind of gives the people who are in the position some kind of nostalgia, and they're like, oh yeah, and like, small talk and all that. And like, it makes you more, like that, yeah, you cared enough to, go through, I don't know, like the website this group had, or the presentation which they did on their, like clubhouse events which we are having. So a little notes of those can be very helpful.
Yeah, I agree. And I think yeah, really spending the time to get to know the club. I think one question that we used to ask, maybe we won't ask it anymore now that I say it, but one question that we used to ask is literally ask our applicants kind of what events do we run, and kind of it literally shows if they even looked on our website, right? So I think really at least spending the time to get to know the club. For example, our CSA, we're almost a political organization, so we have our own constitution that's kind of posted on our website. So like knowing just a little bit, or just knowing that we have a constitution there, will kind of really make you stand out. And I think doing that little bit of research, it won't take you long. Maybe just 20 minutes before the interview will set you up way more than the kind of other applicants going for the same position. Okay, awesome. Not sure if we have any other questions in the chat. I think maybe we'll end with one last question that we have here, which is just maybe from our panelists, just a general piece of advice for someone coming to first year, transitioning from high school. Just any last piece of advice.
I think when it comes to academics, the one thing that I found the most helpful is realizing that what works for everybody else when it comes to studying and time management might not work for you. And your duty to yourself is to find out what works for you, right? That might mean exploring a whole bunch of different things, but for example, I'm not the kind of guy that can take notes during class. I find that distracts me completely and I remember nothing of what the professor was talking about. Some people type while lecture is going, that works for them. So just have the commitment to try new things until you find something that works for you. That's my piece of advice.
I would say make as many friends. Oh, sorry, Enzo. I would say make as many friends as you can, because in first year, like everyone's new, everyone's in the same boat, and like, again, coming back to that, seeing positive in a new situation, is that, everyone is in the same boat. So like, just take that advantage, make a group chat if you want to, if you're like one of those, we need to get a 4.0 in, I don't know, Echo 101, or, and with making all these, group chats and just, making more friends, I feel like over that, like, you will also understand that, like, oh, so these are the kind of groups of people I gel up with, or these are the people I don't. And I think that's normal, it's university life. So meet new people, like, via online means, and yeah.
I think like two things would just be like understanding your strengths and really working on those strengths to just make them like basically something that you'll always have. It doesn't necessarily mean ignoring your weaknesses, but it's always good to have something that you just know you have up your sleeve, as well as also just leveraging the fact that you're a student. A lot of the times people are willing to really give a lot of opportunities to students. So use it during these this time, because it's like really the only time that you're going to be able to just keep saying, I'm a student, can you do this? Or I'm a student, do you think you'd be able to help me with this? People really are trying to give back, especially when they're students and you're really looking forward to doing a lot of different things.
My piece of advice would be to not underestimate yourself and to not undervalue yourself. I think everyone who came into Rotman Commerce is obviously here because you are very smart and capable of being here. But I also know that a lot of us were probably told, when we were leaving high school, like, hey, don't be afraid when you get into university and start getting like 60s and 70s. Like, I think that kind of sets us up to really underestimate our intelligence and our value in being here. And while you should like try to manage your expectations and to be kind to yourself and get yourself the support that you deserve in terms of like academic help or like, with your mental health or social life, get that. But also know that you're still just as qualified to be here as every single person around you. And 60s and 70s are not your fate and they're not your destiny. It's what, what you put into it. And yeah, don't underestimate yourself because you're supposed to be here.
Yeah, I think I'll add on. Just stay true to yourself. A lot of you will come from different backgrounds, different sort of academic, cultural, whatever backgrounds. Yes, fit in, but don't change yourself. Like, don't change who you are for whatever sake it might be. And so, yeah, build social capital, as Jay said, is probably for me the biggest thing at U of T. It's very, very important at this university to know people around you. And it helps you in the smallest ways possible, especially like-minded individuals. Whenever you start recruiting or whenever you're in courses, just the feeling of knowing people in class is actually really nice. When you go into class and you don't know one, it actually sucks. But if you over time try build as much sort of friends as you can, it doesn't have to be like best friends. You can literally just when I guess class becomes normal again, if you're sitting close to someone on your left or right, just reach out to them and say like, hey, what's up, where are you from? It can be as small as that. And that can be a conversation started. And a lot of us here know each other through classes or whatever it might be. So make sure you're at that stage as well in whatever way it might be. So get involved, put yourself out there, stay true to yourself, and just generally build social capital. You'll meet people in the most unique ways possible, and university is the best place to do so. So yeah, use university as much as you can. And yeah, I think I would definitely also say that university is what you make out of it. So a lot of people say like, oh, U of T is not a party school, or U of T is do this, do that. Honestly, like, you can make it what you want. If you want to party every day, you can do that. If you want to get a 4.0 and get an investment banking job, whatever, consulting, elite accounting job, you can land it. It's literally what you make out of it. The resources are there. It's about what you use to your advantage. So yeah, literally create your own path. You don't have to go down what anyone else is doing. And your career is a long way ahead. So don't necessarily get caught up in any sort of hype at uni, and just make sure you're doing whatever makes you happy.
Awesome. So I just got one question in the chat. So this question is for, I guess, preparing for internships. So this question is surrounding, so how to prepare for internships and the interviews for someone who is an up-year student that's interviewing for something that's outside of a Rotman club.
I think I'll echo what a lot of the folks on the panel already said, but preparation, research, having a little bit of knowledge about a team that you're applying for or a company that you're applying for, or just something that the team that you're applying for has done in the past year will get you a long way.
Sorry, yeah, I just want to confirm the question was how to land an internship, like a normal company internship or whatever. Was that the question?
Yes, how to prepare for that.
Yeah, I would definitely say in first year, don't have really high expectations. I think in first year, it's kind of harder to land any sort of real job. If you can get into a startup, if you can get into a company, well done. So yeah, try shoot for it. You might not be able to land one in first year, but in first year, use your time, maybe reach out to startups. There's a lot of new startups, especially with COVID, especially that online now. A lot of people are getting to like the tech space or whatever. So use that to your advantage. May not necessarily be paid for it, but it's good experience. Anything that you can do in the summer to fill your resume and then use some skills there to sort of transfer into your next interview, that's probably, I would say, the most important thing. So don't necessarily shoot for like a real finance job or real accounting job or whatever. Any sort of experience that you can get can help you. So play the long game, aim for that second or third year internship, and see what you can do between now and then to set you up for that success. So yeah, I think one thing that I do want to let you guys know, especially for those of you from maybe not from Canada, recruiting starts really early. That's one mistake that I made in my second year. I thought that because where I'm from, like everything just works like maybe 2 weeks or a month before you can start applying. And so when it was last year, I started applying really late, and I realized a lot of the positions are already gone. So when school starts, those are generally the times that companies start posting their internships or whatever it might be. So be active from day one of like your second year. But yeah, play the long game. For now, I think your first thing should be sort of figure out what specialist you want to be in, and then delve into that industry or whatever it might be. So yeah, use your first year to your advantage. See if you can try new things, get into different courses that you otherwise wouldn't. And then come second year, once you realize what sort of industry or field you want to be in, set yourself up for success in that. So yeah, I think play the long game, try whatever you can for the next year. And honestly, you'll be fine regardless of how your first or second year goes. People always figure it out at the end of the day.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And I think this is a really great time for us to end this panel. Thank you guys so much for coming. We really, really enjoyed all of your advice for first and second years in terms of keeping up with their interest, school, and applying for jobs and internships as well. So I hope you guys all have a really great evening, and we really appreciate you taking the time to come here today. And feel free to drop off anytime you want. Here we have a connect with us. So follow us on our RCSA Facebook, website, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and TikTok pages. And presidents, feel free to drop your association's social medias in the chat as well.
Sure. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.